welcome to, I don't want to say the final episode, but the final World Cup during, post, and analysis of our thoughts. I'm Romeo Kubo. It's my guy, Nikola Petrenko. Um, we're going to start with the semis, and then we're going to get to the finals, and then we're going to talk about everything post. Where do we go from here from a global standpoint and soccer in America standpoint? So last time we kicked off, US's tournament run. But let's talk about the semis. Obviously, there are very two different games. What did you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of us were probably surprised by the result of the France-Spain game.
Yeah.
Uh, just given that France was looking so strong in the tournament up until that game and had been overwhelmingly the favorites. The England-Argentina game also like massive plot twist, right? As far as England looked more likely to win and then get a moment of Messi magic. So, but yeah, maybe on the first one, France, Spain, at least for me, I'd be curious your impression. I I was at that game, right?
Yeah.
Which was super cool to begin with, but France just it was almost a similar sentiment to what happened to us in the first knockout. You're like, who is this team? Like they just looked like they lacked all attacking teeth. They didn't look like they were likely to score, weren't threatening. Spain just kind of snuffed them out, was dominant the entire time, and had a lot of great opportunities and capitalized. I don't know. What did you think of the France Spain game?
Yeah. So obviously I wasn't there. So I thought France, obviously Spain, they're just so dialed in. They know what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And they don't care. And they just suffocate you as a team, offensively, defensively, in transition. So it's very frustrating. I thought France was able to, they weren't really putting their imprint on the game, but they weren't getting exposed. But then once that goal happened, and unfortunate from the left back, you got to be aware that he gives up the PK. And then from there, it was like, okay, nothing's going to happen now. This
Yeah.
is Spain's sweet spot. 1-0. Now you got to come out of your shell. And if you come out of your shell, they just dice you up. And, yeah, France, it was like a team versus a collection. And
Yes.
then
The,
Spain
what
just,
what was interesting to me, I didn't know it until the lead up to the game. The fact that Spain has just had France's number,
oh
like
yeah,
in the last couple
it's like a rivalry, but it's not.
totally. And it reminded me of for like I guess NFL fans or kind of the parallel for me was like probably the maybe recently like the Bills and the Chiefs, right? Where
Yeah,
it's like the Bills have
exactly.
been really good, just cannot beat the Chiefs. Like doesn't
They
matter the
just,
game, doesn't matter the place. The Chiefs just have their number, and you're just like,
yeah,
you get the yips or something in these games. The fact that Yamal kind of called his shot. I'm not sure if you saw he had
yeah,
posted before the game. I was
yeah,
like, oh man, I'd be so fired up if I'm France. And then they won, and I was like, that's brutal.
yeah. Like Spain, they're not scared of France. That's the thing. Like
No,
they know, like they have, like you said, it's almost like big bro versus little bro. Chiefs,
yeah,
Bills, like it doesn't matter how good they fight and claw. Spain's just
yeah. Spain knows that
unafraid,
in that
unopposed.
game doesn't matter. We're coming for you every time.
Yeah, exactly.
What about the tactical decisions in the England Argentina game? Obviously, there's a lot of talk about that coming out of it.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it's like obviously not to jump ahead, but when you see the things that England did, like pre that game and then post that game, you're just like, wait, why did that happen? But it's the 100-year-old playbook. When you play not to lose, you end up losing.
Yeah,
And they were on the front foot. They had a great game plan. They had a great goal, and then they just couldn't withstand the pressure. And then when you are in a pressure environment, you start making decisions out of desperation. And obviously, I don't know how they were feeling. It was like their sixth or seventh game in a span of how many weeks. And Argentina is a great team, and you have to worry about Messi and all the other superstars. But they were in a great position. And when they shrunk their midfield to go five in the back, it's just too much. Yeah.
I know you and I have talked about it in other contexts. I'm just not a fan of five in the back. You start playing five in the back, I don't know. I'm betting against you most times.
Yeah.
And I don't even care if okay, it's three center backs and two wing backs, but I just think it's too defensive for most
Yeah.
teams. Way too
And the
defensive.
th-
You invite too
and
much pressure.
the thing is, like, you invite pressure, and I could understand when you did it against Mexico because you were a man down and they don't have like that one player that can just change the game on the flip on the script like a Messi. But you were 11v11. You just gave away all your sense of like attack for Argentina. So now they know you're just going to defend and you're going to try to wait this out. So they don't even have to worry about like the counter or like a top striker coming in because Harry Kane was dropping so deep. Jude Bellingham was dropping so deep. There wasn't an
Yep.
outlet.
Yep.
And they just was like, all right, we're going to get our chance. We're going to get our chance. And when we get our chance, you get the first one and England will draw. And then you're down 2-1. Now you're chasing the game with 4 minutes left? It's impossible.
It felt like they might have been a victim of their own success with Mexico. Like they had already established this playbook of we can sit
that's
back
exactly.
and just batten down the hatches. But it felt so unnecessary in that moment. And I mean, I'm surprised Tuchel hasn't been under more pressure because of it. Because to me, it felt like just a capitulation, and they should have won that game. Like it should have been an England-Spain final.
It should have. And the thing is, because of some of the tactical changes that they did, like obviously everything's in hindsight. We're not there live, but if you're going to drop deep, like you have Harry Kane who's dropping deep. I know he's your captain, but you have to have some sort of pressure as an outlet.
Always.
You
Yeah.
have Jude Bellingham, who's probably like top 3 player of the tournament. You and him and Kane are doing the same thing. Then you have Reece James, who was tired. You sub him late. You have Morgan Rogers, who didn't sub. So it's just like, what's going on? Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was very frustrating. And I'm not even like an England fan, but I wanted England to win just because of how they were playing and like the storylines. You had Saka, so was he healthy or was he not? Like, why didn't he come in? You had there was no outlet to relieve pressure. And Argentina felt it and it took advantage.
Is it worth spending any time talking about the third place game, or I guess what should be known as the All-Star game?
Yeah, the All-Star, the Harlem Globetrotters game. I think the best thing about that game was that it was free flowing and you knew that the final was going to be the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So from an entertainment standpoint, like I think everyone won. Like the fans won. You got a really good game. I think France and England, from the standpoint of Mbappe, got his golden boot. Jude Bellingham broke the record. You got to find out. Yeah, Saka got a hat trick, which was very like cool. But then you're just like, why didn't you play in the semis?
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing from that game was that France got exposed from the standpoint of some of the players that they rotated actually weren't ready, and a moment for them to show themselves. Because the first half they were down 4-0. So yes, as well as France played, maybe they're not as deep as we thought. At least they had a couple chances that he couldn't finish. You had some guys that didn't show themselves in terms of like Shirky and, a couple of the center backs. But other than that, I think that was the perfect third place game because the final was a little bit of the opposite. If you weren't like a spectator, if you're not like a soccer, like a purist. That was a good game to entice the fans. Yeah. Not all games are like that. If you're a fan, it's like, how come they can't play like that, open and free flowing? Because that's what happens. It's nearly impossible to do that 90 minutes, game after game, week after week.
Well, I think that's also an example of how good teams are defensively at the top level. Like probably one of the most differentiating things, right? Because it's like there could be 4 or 5, 6-5, 4 or 5 games every single game. Yeah. But like when you're playing against world-class defenders in a world-class scheme with a world-class goalkeeper, like, and people are competing to like half the game is not allowing shots on goal, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
hard to break
so
down. All these different things.
yeah, because it's not that guys can't shoot or just forget to shoot in most games, and there's just a luck. Like I would say it was defensive effort that makes the big difference in a game like that. All right, well, I mean, let's talk the final. Like, yeah, what were your observations, takeaways? I mean, were you expecting Spain to not allow them to have a single shot on goal in regulation?
I mean, it's just complete. They just suffocate you, and they don't want to. They don't want to, like, it's like they're just a slow death that you know it's coming, and you can't do anything about it. And that's the worst. That's the worst part about it. You fight and claw. They don't get frustrated. They don't get out of their element. You try to do anything to muck up the game, and they just, all right, they're going to go this way. All right, we'll swing it back around. We'll go this way. Oh, they block this way. We'll swing it back around. We'll go this way. And it's so frustrating as the opposition, because you have your game plan, you know what's going to happen, and it still happens. And just Spain. And just, like, I was telling a buddy of mine, I was like, you can take off the names and the numbers at the back of the jerseys, and you want to know, because they just know what to do in the position that they play. The subs, there's no like drop off. You wouldn't even know who subbed on, who subbed off, because they have their exact style depending on how you play. And obviously, like, you got the Yamals of the world that will have their little flair,
Yep.
but it's it's just beautiful.
I mean,
It might be boring, but it's beautiful.
Well, and that goes back to, like, but having a distinct style of play is something we talked about, I think, in like the first or the second episode, where it's just like, do you have this national identity that you can just plug and play people in that's effective, right? And they're an example of a team that has that.
It makes it so much easier from the standpoint of how you develop, how you pick, and how you cultivate the talent. I think Henry said it best. He said from the time that they're 8 years old, they know this is the way. It's not this coach has this different, obviously there's like little intricate details within it, but if you're here,
the core principles remain the same.
The core principles remain the same. And that's why they consistently, since, I would say 2008, because it took a while, they've consistently been one of the top teams. And obviously you talked about it as well on Fox with Henry. It's like, yeah, there's not always going to be championships, but they had a little drop off after that 2012 Euros, but now they're back on top because they just stuck, and they've been almost stubborn in a way with how they go about it.
Well, it was crazy thinking about that, because it was like them winning the 2010 World Cup 16 years ago. Like, all those kids were like, or like all their current players were like in diapers, like probably don't remember that. And I was like, oh God, that's terrible. Since I remember it so distinctly. I mean, one of the players I was most impressed with, honestly, in terms of just overall steadfast performance, was Laporte.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like he used to be so good. I mean, he was a City guy, wasn't he? I want to say.
Man City, played at a high level.
But then he's been in like Saudi. I think people just wrote him off, and like, I mean, couldn't get past him. I was just watching him on a couple of different occasions, and snuffed out the danger, always in the right spot, picking the right pass, very consistent.
No, and I love how you pointed that out, because it just speaks to their system, and it speaks to like their trust in players, no matter where they play, because they understand the style. There is talk about Simon. Obviously, he's not coming off the greatest year, and David Raya, who's had a top year with Arsenal.
My guy.
Yeah. Laporte, you had Rodri, who's coming off an ACL injury, and
Rodri's super impressive
like
the whole tournament.
Player of the tournament. You have Nico Williams coming off the bench. Jamal was, coming off injury. These guys just consistently show up, and it's like, I mean, job well done to Spain. Obviously, the thing is about them is like that's their style, and you have some teams or some countries that are trying to copy that, but unless you do it as stubborn as they have, from 7 all the way to full team, you're never going to be able to replicate what they do. And not to say... No, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think Argentina deserved to be in the final? I mean, like, were they just, was Spain that good and they were just like unlucky? Or do you feel like, Argentina's luck just kind of ran out and they were exposed as a bit of the lesser team there? because they
Yeah,
took
I
it to
think
overtime. Like
yeah,
arguably, hey, whatever shots mean all these things, but you know,
yeah,
maybe Fernandez doesn't get the red card. I don't know. Like,
yeah. That's a great point because say Spain doesn't get that goal, if it goes to PKs, I would put all my money on Argentina winning that. And there was a couple moments where Argentina almost tied. Kubarasi had a great clearance on the end line. Messi had a shot that was blocked by your boy Mike Marino. But
straight to the face.
yeah, it's just I wouldn't say Argentina didn't deserve that because I mean they fought from round of 16 against Cabo Verde and then Egypt
Yeah.
and Switzerland and then England and they fought and obviously they showed well, but I think their time ran out. Our Spain was just too good of a team, and I mean, who's to say Spain plays England and it's anything different? I think the way Spain played, Belgium gave them the best run for their money, and if not for that goalie mistake, maybe that's different. But
Sure.
everyone else, like, they didn't really only gave up one goal during the whole tournament. Like, what is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. No,
I
that's
mean,
tough. The other player who I think isn't getting enough credit, at least in my view. I mean, he's getting credit, but is Nico Williams, especially on the assist.
oh
That
yeah,
header down to tee up the volley. I mean,
yeah. What an unselfish play. Just have to like
yeah,
to have the awareness to do that in that situation. It was great. And he came on and it was an immediate um plug, a spark for them. He had the goal that was randomly called back, which doesn't add to Argentina's PR of this World Cup, but
yeah,
they ended up winning. So yeah,
yeah.
shout out to Nico Lloyd.
One other thought I had both about that game as well as like World Cup finals past, because you were kind of talking about how, I mean, it was a little slow, very
Yeah.
cagey, especially compared to the third place game. But bear with me. I mean, almost every World Cup final ends up in overtime. Like all World Cup finals tend to be like this. This
Yeah.
game went to overtime or extra time. Sorry. 2002 extra time. 2018
Yeah.
was regulation. 2014 was extra time. The Germany,
Argentina.
game winner against Argentina.
Yeah.
2010, Iniesta banger, to put the Dutch out. 2006,
Yeah.
PKs. Like, I mean, it is great. Like, it's more the exception than the rule that someone like comes into the World Cup final and just starts, taking
Yeah.
the other team,
I
down
think
in
you bring
regulation.
up a great point because obviously, I mean, the magnitude of the World Cup, there's lots of nerves, anxiety. No one wants to make that mistake. But at the end of the day, it's like you don't, it's not like you don't play to lose, but it's like you don't, you don't want to be the one to give them the game. So it's just like, it's like a chess
Yeah.
match all game, like you said. And you chess and you just, once you get that move, that's when you have to strike. And a lot of the times that happens in extra time, like you said. And we talked about different stats. I know we talked about the foreign coach. That's another stat that continued on. But
Still
we should
continue. Yep.
probably, yeah, we should probably look into that, like World Cup finals, extra time moments. Because even
Yeah.
like you said, 2002, when France came back against Argentina, everyone's probably like, "Oh, this game's over." But no, they put it into extra time and once okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
Yeah. No,
stat. We should look into that.
yeah. Yeah. No, I was thinking about that during the game. The, yeah. It'll be interesting where we go from here. One other thought on team composition. And I think this is maybe something we can unpack too. Is like, okay, there's this foreign coach dynamic we've identified that there's a
Yeah,
correlation between having a native coach. Like you almost seem to need a native coach to go win the World Cup. But I also wonder to what extent it makes a big difference to have like one team that's good in their country, right? If I think about like Spain 2010, it was basically
yeah,
just the entire team was Barcelona and Real Madrid. So you're importing world class club
yeah,
teams onto you. Like, there's not this, oh, we've never played with each other, we're trying to figure it out. It was just like, just go do what you do.
yeah,
Iniesta, Busquets, Xavi,
yeah,
like just run it the way you run the midfield, the way you run Barcelona. There's no gap. Everybody knows their role, right? Then
Yeah.
2014, the whole team was Bayern Munich, right? 2018, you've got a bunch of PSG. Like, I almost wonder if that does a disservice to teams like England. You know,
Well, that's a good one. It's sort of like I feel like the spine of England was strong, obviously, because it's like such a formidable market. You had you got Arsenal, Man City. You got a couple players that are playing overseas at big clubs. But yeah, you do need a strong domestic league and strong domestic core, I think.
yeah,
And like
yeah,
if we should like future episodes, we should break down what makes a World Cup's winning recipe.
sure.
Obviously, what's proven that we know
Oh, I
now
like that.
are already native coach
Yep,
identity, which I think England still struggles
yep.
from like we already know US, like we'll get on that, touch on that later, not only today but future episodes. But then like a strong domestic core to a certain
Well, but
extent.
almost said differently, does parity at the club level prevent you from
Yeah.
having a strong national team?
Well, that's a great discussion because Germany's been complaining about having the fact that Bayern Munich just every year wins the league. There's no like plug and play, even though their German national team this year wasn't only Bayern Munich players. There's a couple other pockets in there, but yeah, we definitely need to break that down.
Nice. Well, I mean, but maybe we talk from the U.S. soccer standpoint. Where do we go from here?
Yeah. Okay. Now, and this is a good point because I know U.S. soccer is just so it's a big ecosystem. But I want to start with MLS because they did like a MLS marketing campaign where it's like, all right, World Cup, thank you, but MLS has got it from here. And I thought
Yeah,
that was super interesting because I don't know. I thought if you got it from here, I thought you would have should have done more during the World Cup to help like
yeah.
remind folks like, yo, we have a league here, but I don't know if there's behind the scenes like they couldn't do much. But
I mean,
what do
they
they
had
have from here?
billboards around Dallas about like world, class players play here, best players in the world play here, and I was like, man, it's probably a bit of a marketing spin, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you can't say like, oh, MLS players scored 11 goals at the World Cup when it's like Messi, you know. So uh,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
it's just tough because North America is just such a big ecosystem. You have the foreign leagues, like a lot of the EPL leagues that are planting seeds in the ground here, and MLS is trying to grow simultaneously. So just a tough battle that luckily we don't have to solve, but that's always going to be a question for the growth of the league. Um, I still don't think from a league standpoint, they don't know what they want to do. Are we like a feeder system? Are we an established league? Are we a marquee league for retired superstars? Or let me not say retired superstars, but superstars on their last legs. Like, can we be all three in a way? Like, there isn't, when you think of this league, you don't really know. And that will always continue to hurt us, not only as MLS, but then as the larger US soccer ecosystem. I know on the youth level, they're doing some good things, trying to consolidate a fragmented um, space. But what does that look like? We still haven't seen it. Um, yeah, what else? I mean, we could go on and on, but what do
Yeah,
you think?
I mean, I think on the MLS point, I know I've voiced to you in the past, like I'm a believer we got to embrace the feeder system, similarly to
Yeah,
the Dutch, because if you think about like the Dutch don't have like they're probably the counter argument to what I was saying of like in your domestic league having just one uber dominant team that
yeah,
has all of your national team players. Like the Dutch just approach it from a feeder system into all the other leagues, and yet
yeah,
they're
that's true.
dominant. They have technical consistency and they're profitable teams and develop quality. I think if we embrace that, I mean, I had a conversation with a MLS executive a few years ago and basically suggested that they should try and like create a deliberate connection pipeline with one of the big European clubs, because if you do that, almost like how Red Bulls have been integrated,
Yeah.
um you can probably get some of their like younger high quality players and come and get to cut their teeth and show off in the MLS. Like that could potentially be a really good outcome. But yeah, that's something where mind goes on that.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, and I love how you brought the Dutch system because, like, obviously they've coined the 4-3-3 and the Cruyff method and how they play, which is why their coach kind of got. I mean, they berated him because of how they went out
Sure.
uh, against Morocco, and it's just not that's not the Dutch way. So
Yep.
like that's a great case study in terms of like, yeah, they don't have. I mean, they have the Ajax, the PSVs of the world, but their top players are playing in different leagues. But taking it back to US, yeah, I think another thing you need to do is continue the development of top US coaches. We're not seeing that. Like, I know we talked last episode, like who takes over if coach doesn't stay, or if I don't think he's staying.
Sure.
Like, if we follow the native coach needing to win a World Cup, what does that look like? Who is in place that we're confident enough to say Jesse
Yep.
Marsh? He's with Canada. He's never going to be a U.S. soccer coach unless the whole thing changes.
I give it like
I mean,
15 years.
yeah, true.
2042 World Cup, he'll probably be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned last episode, maybe like Bradley is in the wings, but
Oh, sure. Yep.
like that's like the former player to coach pipeline, but we don't have the standard of like, no, we're coming, U.S. soccer develops coaches. You know,
I mean,
Argentina, they have coaches everywhere. Like their coach pipeline is amazing. Spain, their coach pipeline is amazing. Um,
but a lot of these
those
guys
are
are former players too, right? Um, I mean, Amobi Akugo, future coach of the U.S. men's national team.
nah, nah. But I think you bring up the former player thing, but I think the development pipeline of how they do it, like they start. If we take Spain's coach for example, he was coaching third division, got fired, and then worked his way up from youth all the way
Yep.
up to the national team. Whereas I think U.S. soccer, specifically like former players, they try to skip the steps. They don't work at
Sure.
the youth level. They go
Yep.
straight into like assistant coach at club and
Yep.
then move over. Or like, so that understanding that pipe, that can like almost that pathway or that conveyor belt, I think we need to do a better job. And yeah, obviously it's an ego hit if you're a top player and like having to coach U12s, U13s, U8s, but that's part of the development that you need so that when you do get to that top level, you know, like it just makes it wise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is probably a bit of a hot take, though maybe not super controversial among certain pockets of soccer,
Yeah.
U.S. soccer fans. But I mean, I feel like we have to just reset U.S. soccer hardcore. Like, you pull in Italy, freaking clean the decks completely, like just reset everybody involved.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think we're
in
like kind of stuck in our old ways in no sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, a lot of it is just we have not gotten meaningfully, like, we have not had the step change I think everybody expected. And I don't think we will unless you just reset the entire organization. And again, I'm talking like top to bottom, just like, I mean, okay, maybe you keep some of the coaches, but like to me, everybody's job should be like up for grabs. Because like at least this is how I think about it. Coming out of the 94 World Cup, um, you end up having these moments where you can have these changes. And I think everybody would say, cool, US soccer is better than we were in 94. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, what if the average team during that span, their growth trajectory has been much higher, which I would argue is actually the case.
Yeah.
Like, cool,
Japan,
we're getting better
Morocco,
at a
like,
slower pace than everybody else. We need to relook this whole thing.
yeah.
And I think you end up having, to me, it probably an organization like that in a world where it's insulated, right? Like who's
Yeah.
actually making the decisions of who's who. You hear a lot of players kind of speaking about how they can't speak up because they're going to get they want to still remain close enough, but they know if they say the wrong thing publicly, like obviously I don't have, any of those
Yeah.
ties, but you're just like, I mean, fricking reset everybody. It feels like the US Senate. You're just like, all right, we're just bogged down in politics. We're not actually, the organization is not focused on winning. They're focused on sustaining the organization in its current status. And that is not going to
Yeah.
result in us winning a World Cup anytime soon, or really the benefiting American soccer anytime soon.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I love that
bit
you
of
said
bit of
that because
get fired up about that.
I agree in the sense of like, yes, we've grown, and US, like 30 years ago, we didn't have MLS, and we can use all those stories to say, look at our progress, but we're in a small bubble and we're not comparing it to the rest of the world. And that's where you make it the point, like, no, we need to have the incremental change to catch up with the growth of other footballing nations. And we've been using that excuse of we're still young. It's only been 30 years. It's only been this. It's only been that. Like how many other teams, if we want to say we want to be the best, then we got to incrementally change.
Well,
And
and to me, it's almost like it's competitive action where like, so if
yeah,
you're an MLS team, that's been average for the last 32 years,
yeah,
you've probably seen management team changes, right? You've
yeah,
probably had coaching changes. You've probably reset the exec team. Like, I mean, businesses like all the time, right? Hey,
yeah,
you're not getting it done. You're just average. All right, cool. Like, we're just going to pull it and see if somebody else can come in here and reinvigorate things. U.S. soccer exists or operates as a bit of a monopoly. Like, who's holding them accountable? Who's putting pressure on them to be able to say that they're good or not good? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it feels, as I said, insular, bit of a, yeah, needs
And
to change.
my thing's like, what's the worst that can happen? You already have the playbook of what you've done in the past, so you can always go back to that.
Sure. Yeah.
So like you said, it's a business. You don't get results, you got to make a change.
Yeah. Yeah.
That person doesn't get
And I
results,
mean,
we got to make a change.
and peel it back until you figure out what isn't working or what's not serving you anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there'd be a mindset, oh, well, maybe we're going to take a dip, in some dimension. Like, let's test that theory. Let's find out.
Let's find out.
I mean,
Yeah.
you start coring back all these things, resetting it, and seeing if you get better results. Otherwise, you're going to be always optimizing for like the local maximum versus
Yeah.
the global maximum.
Oh, I like that. Local maximum, global maximum. And I don't think you're only seeing it on the men's side too. I think you're seeing it on the women's side.
Yeah.
The women's side, a lot of other teams and other footballing nations are, I don't want to say even catching up, they're surpassing because of the infrastructure. And yes, on the women's side, U.S. soccer had a bit of a head start, but
yeah,
it's almost even now.
I would say like the women's side has benefited from like UNC Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
Like how many of the U.S. women's national team players were just like a product of like the development system that is UNC Chapel Hill's women's soccer program.
That's true. Yeah. That was a powerhouse.
Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily like U.S. soccer benefited them. It was like them outsourcing their talent development to high quality clubs.
Yeah. Boy. I might have to do another case study. Yeah.
Some hot takes.
Okay. So where do we go from here?
Anybody you feel like, maybe one last question as we're like kind of closing out the World Cup thing, like anybody you feel like really raised their status like on the men's team, coming out of this thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think winners from the World Cup, at least from U.S. soccer standpoint, Balogun, Tillman, for sure. Those are the top two. Unfortunately, we did talk about this. I saw that Matt Freese was actually booed at his last MLS game. So people were saying like, oh, we're turning into a footballing country, So unfortunately, obviously, hopefully Matt Freese can overcome that tough moment and get through that. But in terms of winners, Tillman, Balogun, Inter Miami as a club, Berhalter. I know he just got a transfer. Berhalter. And then I would say U.S. content creators, soccer content creators. They did a great job of highlighting the World Cup and exposing maybe non-soccer peers to the game through other ways, whether it's food, travel, all that lifestyle stuff. But other than that, does MLS win? Does USL Championship win? Nah, I don't really see too many winners. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I agree. I don't think I have any major departures there. I mean, I think the players who who impressed or at least should get another look probably internationally are the three you mentioned. Balogun, Tillman, Berhalter. Other than that, I think it's status quo, and goes back to like we need if we can't find additional talent, I don't think that team goes and does any better in 4 years.
Yeah. That's true. I know there's a couple of like young guns that are supposed to be coming up, but like you said, if there's no like system, they'll just be, it won't even really matter. They won't stand out because we're not putting them in the best tactical, formation for them to even show themselves.
And you know who's going to be tough in the next World Cup? Germany is going to be back.
Yeah, that's true.
Brazil.
We'll be back.
I find it
Italy.
hard that Brazil won't figure out in 4 years. Italy is going to be coming back with a vengeance. Like, I bet you those teams like figure it out in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
And so
Japan
if we think like
continues to get
if
better.
we sit back and say this was a successful World Cup, which it was commercially, it was, socially. But if the on-field product doesn't get better, I don't see it going any better for us in 4 years.
Yeah. And that's a great point. Like, I feel like this perspective was needed because yes, we were on a high and now we've been able to let some time pass since the final. But yeah, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work that was done and great job, but there's still a lot of work to do. And other countries are livid. Like you said, Germany, hire Klopp.
Reset the team, right?
Yeah.
Italy,
if you're a betting
fire
person,
everybody. Brazil, about to do the same thing. Yeah.
So we need that. And I think, it'll be interesting to see what moves have been made. I know the next friendly is coming up in September. What does that look like for U.S. soccer? Are we going to have an interim coach? Is Push going to still be here? But we still don't have a U.S. soccer, president or technical director. Sorry. So yeah, interesting times ahead.
Yeah. But we can do, I think maybe not to end on like a negative, end on a positive there. It's like, these are all solvable problems. And there are so many people who want to help and want to contribute and have thoughts and can probably help. We just need to get out of our own way and figure out how to like get collaborative and do this thing.
Yeah, that's true. And that's what makes U.S. soccer in totality such a great sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I want to say thanks for letting me annoy you for the last 4 or 5 weeks with
Dude,
this.
Thanks for letting me come hang.
We're going to have to keep it going in some way, shape, or form. I know last week we spoke about the David Beckham business, and I know you have some things to say about that. So we're going to save it for like a full actual episode, and then we'll continue to figure out ways we can combine soccer, business, all the things that we're passionate about, all the things that we talk about offline for this segment.
I think things we've talked about, right? Like, hey, let's like dive into what a deal like that looks like. How, why was that such a good deal for Beckham? How did it transpire? What do the economics of like a team look like, right? Like, how do we break that down, simplify it? Some of these deals that guys and gals are getting. What does the agency thing look like, or family office? I know you've mentioned like. Yeah. All those things are on the table. I think we'd both be excited to talk about them. Just depends what the people want, huh?
Yeah, let us know in the comments. But for sure, we're going to do a breakdown of like building a true national team identity based on our like findings and models, and then breaking down the Beckham thing. Those are first two for sure. And then from there, we'll go on. But with that being said, appreciate y'all. Make sure you listen to our past episodes. We're going to do a better job, or I'm going to do a better job of like publicizing it. So make sure it's going to be on YouTube, and then we're going to have the clips on the other social media platforms. But once again, I'm Amobi Kugo. You are
Mikola Petrenko.
Yeah. And this is our World Cup post analysis. Appreciate you for having us. This is our platform. So appreciate you for listening. Catch y'all later.